Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hewkin.
Hey guys, if you're watching, it's good to be here, see you again. If you're listening, we are so glad that you're listening with us today. We're excited to dive into just a conversation about dinner tables and the importance of that and inviting Jesus in at the dinner tables and how small little things can lead to big things, and it doesn't always have to be complicated.
No, I think the more complicated we try to make it,
Yeah.
the more resistant it seems as though our kids are to it. Not like they're like, no, I don't want to do that. It's just, it's this funny, energetic thing that changes. It's like just at the age that they are. Like, I think I look forward to and can, foreshadow the vision of, hey, when our kids are, teenagers and we're having this robust discussion, right? And they're 5 and 7 right now. So, to get them to not pick their nose at the dinner table is a pretty solid start, right? So maybe you guys are there. Maybe some of you are beyond that. Maybe you just have little babies and you're not having any kind of discussion other than, the sweet little baby voice discussions you have with them. But ultimately, kind of creating the dinner table to be a place of discipleship. I think Jesus did this a lot, right? 8 meals, broke bread together. I think it's so vital and so important for us as families to just be sitting down. That's step one, right? Sit down at the dinner table and have a discussion on a regular basis. Maybe we shoot for 5 nights a week or something like that, 5 out of 7. Is where we're actually sitting down and having a discussion as a family.
Yeah, and I think that it can even start as something as simple as, you love to ask the kids and I, what was good today or what was the best part of your day, and just hearing that, but then also focusing on gratitude with our kids and what are you grateful for? Because what is it? What's the quote that's like, or the saying that you can't be in a gratitude-filled mindset at the same time as
lack or anxiety or any fear-based mindset.
Yeah. So it really just helps them get into that.
Sure.
And so that is, if nothing else, icebreaker, groundbreaker. Maybe your kids are older and you don't want to just like spring this on them as like, oh, today we're going to talk about Jesus. It's like just easing into it of, what was the best part of your day or what are you grateful for? And we have a rule where they're not allowed to just like blah, 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 blah. Like the 3 things that they see.
Mom, dad, brother.
Yeah. Not allowed to do that, but actually heartfelt, gratitude-filled things.
Give us some depth.
Yeah.
Use your words. Let's think about this, right? And so we'll see oftentimes where parents or people, they'll just try it. They'll try. Maybe it's the kid gets into the car after a long day at school or something like that. And it's, hey, how was your day? Good. Like,
yep.
That's it. And I do this.
Yeah.
I do this to you. You'll ask me, well, tell me about your day. How was your day? Sometimes I'm just out of words, But I think it's the point we're making is that that's a reality too. But also just cultivating an energy, if you will, of the ability for just deep conversation to be had. Sometimes we're not gonna get there, but we're present, right? Like that's the main thing that our kids want or long for us is just being together,
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I think a lot of it comes from just like what we model, how comfortable we are, just as far as, praying at the dinner table and then, inviting your kids in to pray, and we take turns. All of our kids love to do it. So it's honestly hard to stop at just one because they all want to do it.
Usually we're eating cold food.
Yes, because then they will, and it's cute. But when you're hungry and the food is getting cold, it's like, oh, please just hurry up.
Yeah.
But they're like, thank you. And you can just, I open my eyes, I like to watch them, and they'll be looking around. They're like, thank you, Lord, for the ketchup, the ice cubes, and it's funny. But I think just allowing them to model that and pray and be involved in that, is so big. But then also, you do this really well, just asking them who they want to pray for and just being able to hear their hearts in that.
Yeah. I saw this thing not too long ago. It was a video on social media, and they interviewed and it was parents, and they sat them down on a couch, and they just video camera on. They said, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would you have dinner with? And the parents sat, and they're like, man, I don't know. I think about that. And they, famous people from past history, presidents, leaders, Gandhi, this, all this stuff were thrown out as these ideas. And then they brought in all their kids, and they asked them the same question. And like time and time and time again, the kids just kept saying, Mom and Dad, Mom and Dad, my mom, my dad.
Sad.
And like the parents are just like, oh my gosh, like the one dad, it makes me want to cry, because they'd asked the parents first, and then they asked the kids, and then they played the video back for the parents of their kids. That's saying, terrible. Would you? Right? It's awful. And so it's just like the importance of us sitting down at a dinner table and having these conversations. It does not have to be the depths of spiritual, theological concepts and all this kind of stuff. But like if we would just consistently sit at a dinner table with our children and be present with them, like it's so powerful. And the fact that all they wanted to do was sit with us. I can't look at you because you'll make me cry worse.
You could have told me this story before.
But it's just genuinely this idea that, the Bible gets into that. And like, I think it's Deuteronomy chapter 6. There's a lot about how we're supposed to disciple our children and our families. And there's so much there for us to unpack. But I don't think it can start right out of the gates there if we're not even having dinner together. And it's such a concept, right? Like people, like I almost feel that if I say that, like we should have dinner together as a family. We collectively, anybody listening, families in the world, especially families in the United States, we should be having family dinner together, every night that we can, right? And I think all too often sports schedules and banquets and commitments and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and church sometimes even, I would say there can be all these things, and they could be righteous, like as in, our heart is right in them, but they can be used as a divisive tool to separate and tear our families apart. And we can cast no vision for what's the future, because this is a very famous quote. People say nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think sometimes our children might be inclined to think that we care more about where they're going to go to college, what sports they're going to play, what they're going to do, all of this kind of stuff, than they even realize that we care about them. And so just deepening the conversation around, again, we have 5 and 7-year-olds, so I can't imagine what it's going to be like when they're 15 and 17. But I think if we can cultivate the energy and the idea now, it's going to be so second nature to them in the future. I saw this, and I hope we have this one day, right? Talk about we're in this process of building our house and doing all this stuff now. But this family, again, they're on social media somewhere, and they talk about that when it's an older couple, and the daughter always interviews her parents. And they said, well, we did Saturday nights and they just biggest spread of food and like all this stuff. And they said, invite anybody you want, but you're home on Saturday night. And it wasn't this control thing. It wasn't this, hey, we're not going to let you go out and have fun. It's just they made home fun. Yeah. And they're like, we as a couple, we did everything we could to actually create and cultivate that in our home, so that we knew that our children were safe. They weren't out doing the wrong types of activities, and that we still had a God-guided influence in their life, but under this, for lack of a better term, but speaking just to parents here, don't tell the kids, put your headphones in. No, I'm just kidding. Is that we did it under the guise of like, hey, we're gonna make home so fun that you don't want to go anywhere else, right? And like to an extent, right? We do have to graduate and all this kind of stuff, but it's just that the opposite of, that Western ideology that's like, well, you're 16, 17, 18 years old now, like kick rocks, see you later,
Well, and we were just at our friend's house yesterday for a graduation party. Their son graduated, and we were walking around. They have a beautiful lake, and I mean, it's just amazing, and everybody loves to come and swim, and that's where the party was. And as I was walking to the garden, just to look at the garden with her name's Becky, we were talking about, her husband has all these dreams. He's like, I want to build a basketball court. I want to build, a tennis court. And she's like, he says, if you build it, they will come. And so even though their kids are getting older, if you build it, they'll come back and they'll bring their kids, and they'll, and just having that place, just that is just like all you said, all of the good things in one, but all together. Hey guys, we want you to come hang out with us this summer at the Natural Parents Expo.
It's going to be July 26th in Chesterfield, Missouri. Get your tickets at thenaturalparents.com. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hewkin. Right, and there has to be a happy middle ground, right? Again, I think there's a lot, and we were raised, and I think even, our parents were raised and all that, the last few generations of this idea that I think it is a Western idea. There's a lot of, stuff written about that or talked about that where it's like, hey, you turn 18 and now you're an individual, you're your own person, see you later. Now, I understand there's a happy medium ground and we can't, don't necessarily want to or need to, live at home forever and all this idea, but it's just like the concept is that our families can be, and I think should be based on what the Bible shows us, this multi-generational force for good in this world. And I think we're so oftentimes have been conditioned to, it's just like, good luck, see you later. And I think somewhere deep down inside of all of us, no matter how dysfunctional our families are, we all long for that interconnectedness between the generations, cousins to, aunts, uncles, moms, dads. It's neat. I think when I see it functioning well, it's just a concept that is not championed a whole lot in our world, and I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah, and I mean, when you really think about it, our kids will do this with their kids.
Right.
And from everything, from the conversations to the prayers to all of that, and just continue that pattern. And so as uncomfortable and trying as it may be to start, now is the best time to start. It's kind of like, when's the best time to plant a tree?
Sure.
Type thing.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's the next best time?
Right now.
Yes. And so I really do. I think that just starting it and having that and just encouraging your kids to pray and talk about what they're grateful for and hear who they want to pray for. Our son is, he is just something else. He's the 5-year-old, and
sometimes he prays for creatures.
For creatures or preachers.
And preachers. Yeah, it's pretty funny. One day, that's a joke. He said something. I was like, oh, buddy, did you just pray for all the preachers? It's like, no, Dad, all the creatures. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then yesterday I had a chance to pray at church, and he prayed for the preachers. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Glad you used the preachers instead of the creatures on this one.
Creatures too. Everybody needs a prayer.
He's very, he wanted to pray for somebody specifically, and he did that, and then that day, that person actually happened to be at church, which is a very, very uncommon thing.
Right.
And so, I was like, oh my gosh, Jennings, they were there, and we talked about it, and we were all very emotional about it. And then the next time that he saw him, he went up to me, he's like, all right, so do you know about Jesus now? Yeah. Do you accept Jesus? And just so blunt about it. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I heard about Jesus. And so just really cool just to watch them connect those dots, even at such a young age. And, like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be this long, drawn-out, elaborate thing, because oftentimes, especially with young kids, they get uninterested.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it seems to do more harm than good when you're like, no, listen, I just wanted to tell you about this. I want you to get it, But I think it's the small, little, bite-sized moments and setting the example that goes the furthest.
Sure, and I think, again, parents listening might be in different seasons of their own walk, in their own degree of spirituality, and so it might seem like a daunting task. It's like, I don't know the Bible enough to be able to translate it in an interesting way to my child. And so we started doing this with our kids, where I remember, and I told you, I really feel like so much of my biblical knowledge just is rooted in my mom taking, I remember when I was little, my first Bible, and it's this red
we still
Bible.
Have it.
It's got a plastic little blue handle on it. Still have it. I broke the handle on it, but I was a rough little boy, I guess. But it's just simple, short stories in the Bible, and it was like, I read it now and I'm like, that's it. But it's like, I remember Samson from that, and I remember obviously Genesis, the books in there, and just the works and wonders of Jesus in the New Testament and all this stuff. It's like, oh yeah, well, I've heard of that before. I don't know if I've read that recently or if that's from when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, right? And so just starting there, as a parent, you might have that longing to, well, I wish I knew that better, but it's just too daunting. It seems overwhelming to pick up, especially like a King James Version
Yes.
Bible, right? And like get into the meat of this, and I don't know what I'm reading, right? But it's
Yeah.
like there's no harm or foul in like you learning and getting that, and then going and saying, okay, well, it just related that to my child. Now I'm going to go pick up my Bible and I'm going to study that. I want to get into that, the depths of that. And again, I think it could be convicting for us to say, what if I, made it my mission that I learn the Bible better so that my children could know it through me, right? Because sometimes we're just reading word for word text. That's harder for them to conceptualize versus if you could just say, hey, so this is what happened. How cool is that, right?
Right.
And so then you can translate that into a dinner time conversation versus let me open the Bible now and everybody turn to,
Yes.
not going to happen.
And don't be afraid to just, read the children's Bible. What is the one that we have that we read at night?
The illustrated children's Bible.
And don't be afraid to learn it with them.
Sure.
That's okay. And then later you can go and look it up, or just gauge how interested your kids are. Maybe they want you to read the little children's story and then go pull out the Bible and maybe pull more into the story and how it works. Just gauge their interest, but don't let it, don't let it be more daunting than it is enjoyable.
I think another really cool one is the Bible Project. Like there's this.
Oh yeah.
That's a really neat idea too, and something you could do with your kids if you're looking to that. You can even have bring that into the dinner time. Let's watch this little video, right? And there's a video series on certain books of the Bible and just concepts through Scripture, and it's just really, it's a neat thing.
Is cool.
We've used it in our own study.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is. So we just encourage you guys to try maybe just one simple task, and maybe it's just a dinner time conversation or saying what you're grateful for. Or if you have something to add that you do that works really well for your family, we encourage you just to hop in our Facebook group, The Natural Parents, share that in there, share with others, and share what's working for you. From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hewkin.